afternoon, everybody. Welcome here to Harold Hutton Sports Center here on the SkyAC Network. This afternoon, we have a very exciting game for you. The Chapman Panthers are going to be taking on the Verne Leopards. My name is Zoe Franklin. I will be your play-by-play commentator today. I'm joined by Isabella Savea, my color commentator. How are you feeling today, Isabella?
I'm feeling pretty good today, Zoe. Thank you for asking. I'm going to be looking out for all those key players. A lot of big competition on the court tonight, too, especially because Verne takes that #1 seat in the conference.
Absolutely. The Verne Leopards are the top dogs coming into this match today. And it's going to be a battle. Would you say a cat fight, perhaps?
It's going to be a big cat fight out there.
Absolutely. When we look at these two teams, we've said it already, but we're going to say it again. Verne, nearly perfect record so far, 19-1. They have not lost a game since November. Chapman Panthers, they are sitting right in the middle at 10-10, coming off of a 2-game win streak, so they're getting their confidence back. But something really important to note, look at that field goal percentage. Chapman shooting just below 40%, Verne just under 37%. Interesting, and we'll see how that comes into play today.
Definitely, you know, tonight it's all going to be about those fouls as well, especially with the Panthers. You know, if it comes to a really tight game at the end, it's all about who's going to be on that free throw line. Definitely looking out for who has a top % scoring rate in the free throw line, how many people are going to be on there as well.
Absolutely. But these two teams are not the only two teams in the SkyAC Conference. If we take a look at our SkyAC Conference standings, like we said already, Verne sitting there right at the top, 11-0 in the conference. Chapman sitting right in the middle at 5-7. But we see these other teams, Claremont Mudscripts, really good record of 9-3, but Verne just came off a win, beating them on February 1st. Chapman also coming off a win, beating Pomona, who you saw right below them. But we'll see if those conference standings are shaked up a little bit today.
Definitely, and you know, when it comes to playing on the court, it's all going to be about that energy too. I know that the Panthers are looking a little bit nervous during warm-ups because the Leopards have a lot of chemistry on the court. We're watching them really show out over there, doing their drills, their stretches and warm-ups. Everyone's united as one.
Absolutely. To give us a little more insight on the court and the energy we should be expecting tonight, we're going to send you down to our sideline reporter, Angela Hara. Angela, what do you have for us?
Thanks so much, you guys. And wow, what an exciting game we have here tonight, you guys. I mean, it's an exciting game. I'm Angela Hara. I'm going to be giving you the latest updates right here on the sideline on this court. As you guys know, Verne does have a title to protect today. They're up on top on the SkyAC while Chapman is in 5th place. But this is definitely a game worth seeing because we got to figure out if these underdogs are going to try to take that title from Verne today. Looking forward to seeing what's going to happen on the court, and hopefully I can sneak in a little post-game interview for you guys, see what's going to happen today. But, you know, back up to you guys up top. I'll give you more updates later on.
Thank you so much, Angela. Great to hear from you. Excited to hear from you tonight. We got to talk about these teams and these key players on the team. We're going to start off on the Verne side with #0, Marissa Howell. She is a guard, averaging over 14 points this season. Really good free throw percentage of over 80%, 86%, and a really good three-point percentage of 33%. Very impactful, 26 points in their last match against CMS, and very impactful. But we can't just have offense, we have to have defense.
Definitely, and when it comes to defense, we're looking at #21, Dejanay Gill. Averages about 10 points per game, and when it comes to rebounds, she is definitely a threat on that court and in the key. She gets about 9 rebounds a game, only standing at 5'9" as well, with an average of 65.9% free throws.
Absolutely. So we have offense, we have defense. What about when we have both? Well, that's going to bring us to our last key player, #25, Chiara Brown, averaging 13 points per game, just over 7 rebounds a game. And look at her field goal percentage, 47.5%. She's also the only player to be the offensive and defensive player of the week for the SkyAC Conference. So really look for her on both ends of the floor to be making an impact.
Definitely, and then going next to the Chapman Panthers, we're going to start off with #1, Juliana Campus, playing at guard. She averages about 8 points per game, and when it comes to 3 points, she's someone you got to look out for, with about 41.3% at 3 points made per game. She also has a good free throw percentage as well, with 66.7%.
Absolutely, and bringing us to another J. Bringing us to another J, we have Julia Strand. She's a forward, number 12. She is the leading scorer in the SCIAC Conference, scoring over 20 points per game. She's also a defensive powerhouse with almost 3 steals a game, over 10 rebounds a game. She is making her presence known, and she is just a statistical wonder when you look at the stat sheet.
Definitely, and lastly, we're going to end with Katie Kubo, number 23. She's one of the smallest players on the court, but definitely a threat on offense. She has a good percentage of free throws, 81.1%. So when it comes to those fouls, she's definitely someone you want to look out for. Also averaging with 6.9 points per game and at least 3.1 assists as well.
Absolutely. One of the highest assists in the SCIAC Conference. You really are looking to your point guards to really establish your game and to be able to see what you might not be able to see if you're waiting underneath the basket.
Definitely, and Katie Kubo has a good sense of momentum too. She knows when her players are running out of breath. Anything to do with tempo and momentum, she got. Now let's take it down to the national anthem.
Guys, at this time we ask you guys if you're able to move your hands as we honor our country with the playing of our national anthem. Now let's meet today's starters. Starting at guard for Verne, a 5'2" sophomore out of Santa Clarita, number 0, Marissa Howell. At guard for Chapman, a 5'4" grad student from Nevada, number 1, Juliana Quipes. At guard for Verne, a 5'7" junior from McFarland, number 13, Angelica Gonzalez. At guard for Chapman, a 5'6" senior from Rachel Palace Furries, number 2, Sammy Unanda. At guard for Verne, a 5'9" graduate student from Rialto, number 21, DJ Gill. At forward for Chapman, a 6' senior from Seattle, number 12, Julia Strand. At guard for Verne, a 5'8" sophomore from Fremont, number 22, Dawson Bell. At guard for Chapman, a 5'9" sophomore from Portland, number 22, Zoe Zareski. At forward for Verne, a 5'10" junior from Fremont, number 25, Fiona Burnett. And at guard for Chapman, a 5'2" junior from Hacienda Heights, number 23, Katie Kubo. Head coach for the Leopards is Jason Brewer, assistants are Michael Walker, Elisa Smith, Ryan Southern, Aisha Rainford, Marissa Perez. Head coach for Chapman ranking season is Karen Chu, assisted by Coach Nilo and Coach Clark.
Thank you for starting lineups. That was Stephen Olveda, our athletics director on the PA system. If you're here in the center, you're going to hear him over the PA. He is just a great announcer and does so much for the program. But tonight's not about him. Tonight's about the Chapman Panthers versus the Laverne Leopards. We see our starters getting ready. What do you think their mindset is going into this game?
You know, it's really a tough game going out on there. I know the Panthers are a little bit nervous, but Laverne seems very confident that they're about to take a win. Little do they know that that competitive spirit in Chapman does come up. They will not let down a fight. They will keep pushing and pushing until the very end.
Absolutely. When you're at the top, you have everything to lose. We saw Laverne when they played against Caltech, it went into overtime. So we'll see if the Chapman Panthers can put up enough of a fight. We're gonna get into it as tip-off. Julia Strand comes up with it, but not for long. We're gonna start again. We have Julia Strand and Chiara Brown. And this time the Laverne Leopards come up with it, and we're off. You see number 13, Angelica Gonzalez with the ball at the top of the key, looking around. Already Panthers making their presence known, kind of swarming their defense, top of the key, but it goes back to Angelica with the easy layup.
Katie Kubo's now taking down the ball down the court.
Absolutely. Panthers moving fast initially. At the start of this game, Katie Kubo driving it in, passes it off to Strand. Strand will pull up, and that's good for two. Julia Strand with her first points less than a minute into this game. On the Laverne side, in the hands of Chiara Brown, up against Strand. She pulls up, tough shot, rolls around, but Strand with the rebound. Like we were saying earlier, Strand all over the boards.
And that's an out-of-bounds play called on number 22 from the Panthers.
That's Zoe Zarowski. Zoe Zarowski starting tonight's game. Often she comes off the bench. There's a couple of injuries on this Chapman Panthers team, so that's why Zoe Zarowski is filling in. So it'll be interesting to see her impact. Laverne with the ball in the hands of number 22, Dawson Bell. Pulls up. Strand with the rebound again. And back into the hands of Katie Kubo. Katie Kubo really pushing the pace early on, goes straight to the basket and just lays it right in.
She's definitely taking a look at those open pockets, and another shot from number 22 from Laverne.
Dawson Bell. We didn't talk about her in the opening show, but Dawson Bell, sophomore guard. This Laverne team really heavy with their guards. They play small for a team with so many wins. We see her, she gets that and one opportunity, but misses, rattles it off. The ball is back in the hands of Katie Kubo, already a minute and a half in, tied, and Katie Kubo making her mark known. Katie Kubo, not always a high scorer, but she really is going for it today.
And that was just Marissa Howe attempting at the three-point shot and then taking it out of bounds as well.
This game is moving very, very quickly early on. Not a lot of establishment, and just a bit of an error from Sammy Anana right there. Kind of throws it off the backboard. So that means that the Laverne Leopards are going to get the ball back. And a quick and easy score from Chiara Brown. This game has not stopped for the first 2 minutes. It is just constant go, go, go. This clock, I don't even think this clock has hit 10 seconds yet. Katie Kubo back with the ball again, pulls up, long two, rattles in and out. And Zoe Zarowski trying to get the rebound, but doesn't quite get it. What do you think of this fast pace so far, as we barely have time to even talk about it?
Definitely a lot of competition, you know. I feel like they're really feeling the pressure. I think Laverne feels a little bit of pressure coming from the Chapman Panthers on defense too.
As Chiara Brown, easy layup, just cut right into the middle for that easy score as Laverne goes up 8-6. Sammy Anana with the ball, passes it to Katie Kubo. It'd be interesting to see if they slow down, as when you go fast, sometimes you make silly mistakes.
Definitely, speed is definitely something that the girls are gonna fight for tonight. And Katie Kubo's taking out the ball from out of bounds as well, looking for an open spot. Passes it to Julia Strand.
Julia Strand just pulls up and makes it. Julia Strand, not always known for her distance shooting. That was a really long two, almost looked like a three-pointer, as she has the ball back in her hands with that rebound from the Laverne miss. Let's see what she does with the ball, if she's gonna slow it down or just pull up again. This time, a little bit off her mark. And the Laverne Leopards have it back in the hands of Marissa Howell. Marissa Howell, finally the first signs of slowing down this game as Dejanay Gill kind of barrels into Katie Kubo there. No foul, refs say play on, and Julia Strand just pushing the pace, lays it up and in. This game is quick and it is on the move as Chiara Brown says, you don't get to have all the credit. This is my time.
Definitely a battle of the layups tonight, too. You see everyone trying to get open in the key, looking for a pass and assist down there.
Absolutely. Juliana Campus with the ball in her hands, looking for an option. She finds Zoe Zarowski. Zarowski drives it in, and Zarowski lays it up and in as well. Just absolutely astounding how quickly this ball is being pushed. The pace of this game is just something else to watch. It'll be interesting to see throughout the rest of the game if they can keep it up.
Definitely. And, you know, with the fast pace, we're going to see a lot of travels. You know, the momentum might be a little off, so losing your balance is definitely something the players got to look for.
Absolutely. I mean, with Katie Kubo, we talked about her being an assist leader. She knows how to set up the plays, but she's already come up with a couple of quick baskets of her own. But Katie Kubo is sitting out right now as the ball is back in the hands of Julia Strand, who just pulls up again. That one a little bit off the mark, bounces off the rim, back in the hands of Dejanay Gill. And back in the hands of Angelica Gonzalez, passing the ball around to Chiara Brown. Angelica pulls up from the three-point line, and not quite, and the Panthers have it back. In for the Panthers, that's number 3, Kelly Park. She subbed in for Katie Kubo. And we also see number 21, Kelly Kahala. Juliana Campos with the ball, passes it to Julia Strand, and she rattles that one in.
Just watching them run down all the way from the other side of the court, you can definitely tell that they are in fast game speed. You know, a lot of mentality is happening, a lot of competition. You can definitely see the pressure there.
Absolutely. One person scores, the next team has the answer. If they somehow miss, then they're going to get it back. Juliana Campos trying to establish something, but she passes it off to Zoe Zarowski. And Zarowski loses it, ends up in the hands of the Laverne Leopards. Dawson Bell running up the court. Double teamed, almost taken away by Julia Strand. Instead, Chiara Brown pulls up, and it bounces around, and we're tied 14-14 with about 4.5 minutes to go in this first quarter. Juliana Campus just absolutely was able to set up that shot. Zoe Zarowski left alone, and she capitalized on it.
Definitely. And taking down the ball from Laverne, we have number 13 again.
Angelica Gonzalez passes it off to Dawson Bell. Dawson Bell off her mark on that three-point, ends up back in the hands of Kelly Park. Kelly Park doing the same thing that we've been seeing, pushing the pace. Julia Strand gets the foul. That's going to be on number 21, Dejanay Gill.
First foul, or second foul coming from Laverne as well. And we're looking at substitutes coming in. We see 3 girls off the bench into a timeout.
Wow, I feel like I can finally take a breath for the first moment in this quarter, and I'm not even the one playing. What do you think of this style of play, and how is it different from what we've seen from these Panthers this season?
Definitely fast pace. We're used to seeing a little bit of more organization on the court, but with the fast pace, we can see that everyone's a little bit confused out there. We're gonna see a lot of layups as well, but you know, they're taking a really good initiative with that. Definitely setting up some shots for the forwards, looking into layups, and Julia Strand is definitely helping with that, keeping the leadership on the court.
Absolutely, but with this fast style of play, it doesn't really give the teams a chance to establish their defense as much. We've kind of seen them, there's been a couple of double teams, which has almost led to a steal. We saw a turnover on the Panther side, and that led to a Laverne score, but it will be interesting to see if they can just slow down a little bit. What's going to come after this timeout with all these substitutions?
Definitely. And then with the buzzer going, we're looking at the girls back on the court coming up. And if I'm correct, we are going to play a bit of highlights. Just kidding. We are not going to play highlights right now. We're going to see the girls coming back on the court, going straight into play.
Absolutely. We see a couple of substitutions. We see number 20, Kylie Ishibashi. She can really be an impact scorer for this Chapman team coming off the bench. We also see that Sammy Anana is still on the court, Julia Strand still on the court at the free throw line. And for the Laverne Leopards, we see number 11, Casey Kuramoto, on the court for the first time tonight. A little bit of confusion happening. Laverne making a substitution. Yeah, a little bit of confusion there. It looks like their initial substitution, which was number 44, Mariah Laura, not able to come in quite yet, so Dejanay Gill still in. Julia Strand able to knock the first one down. And Julia Strand hits both of them, giving the Panthers a 5-point lead with just over 4 minutes to go in this first quarter. And here we go with the Laverne Leopards. You see number 5 for the Laverne Leopards. That is Jaslyn Johnson. She's a graduate, comes off the bench, but can be a huge impact player. We see her with the ball, and she passes it off to Mariah Laura, that substitution. And Jaslyn Johnson pulls up just off her mark, and that's gonna stay on the side of the Laverne Leopards. Back in the hands of Marissa Howell, quick pull up, and just off the mark. Back in the hands of Sammy Inanna with just over 3.5 minutes to go. That is number 21, Kelly Kahola looking. Back in the hands of Kelly Park. Kelly Park looking for her options, passes it off to Ishibashi. Ishibashi drives it up the lane and blocked. That was some really good defense that we just saw. Finally, that defensive prowess that we've been looking for.
Definitely, and then that was just a shot attempt from number 24 from Laverne.
Just a little bit off the mark. We saw some really hot streaks coming up early in the game. This game's slowed down a little bit as this quarter's coming to a closer, but they're not done yet. Kali Kahola with her first points of the game as the Laverne Leopards bring it back up to their side of the court, trying to establish their presence. We've seen this a lot with the Chapman Panthers. They are really good in the first quarter. They like establishing a lead. If they can hold on to it, then they might just be able to take down this team that has not lost in over 2 months.
The ball is now out of bounds, and it seems as if Laverne is taking the ball again. You can see them setting up, and the substitution coming from the Panthers. Number 23 coming back in, Katie Kubo.
Yeah, Laverne Leopards down 7 points early in this first quarter. What do you make of that, Isabella?
Definitely something that's very shocking. You know, I really thought Laverne would keep a high tempo and really have, you know, a little head in the game and make the Panthers fight a little bit.
Absolutely. Right now, it's hard to see who's in control just because of how quickly this game has been moving. But both teams have gotten some really good shots, and both teams have gotten some really quick shots. But that right there, that was a dime. That was absolutely incredible. That was number 2, Valentina Lamont for the Laverne Leopards. And sloppy play right there. And just like that, the Laverne Leopards are back within 2. That's what they do. They fight back. Their head coach, you see them over there. That is their head coach, Jason Pruitt. He's a very outspoken coach. He always thinks that his team can make improvements. Even in their last game against Claremont Mudscripts, he said that they didn't look like themselves in the first half of the game. And I'm wondering if he's thinking a similar sentiment here tonight.
Definitely, I'm gonna have to agree. I feel like it might be a little stressful for them. They may be thinking that this would be an easy win, but back again, mentioning that the Panthers do have a competitive and a fight in them. They are not let down. They're definitely bringing a little bit of competition, and it seems to be throwing off the Verne Leopards a little bit.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see if the Leopards have an answer and if the Chapman Panthers can keep up this consistent pace of dominating. We see Julia Strand is back on the court. Julia Strand, as we mentioned earlier, leading scorer in the SCIAC Conference. So we're going to see what these starters coming back on will do. Sami Onana trips up but manages to keep control of the ball, passes it off to Ishibashi. Julia Strand passes it to Zoe Zarowski. Zarowski surveying. And that's going to be a foul. That's going to be on number 11 for the Verne Leopards, Casey Kuramoto. That's her first foul of the game. And just sloppy inbound by Katie Kubo leads to a Chapman turnover and a quick pull-up shot. And again, number 2, Valentina Lamont. And just like that, the Verne Leopards have gone on an 8-0 run, and now they're up by 1. And another turnover, this time by Julia Strand in the hands of Jasmine Johnson, but a block by Strand to make up for that mistake. Katie Kubo has the ball now to Julia Strand. Julia Strand just off her mark a little bit. As the final minute of this first quarter comes to a close, we see that these teams are slowing down. We see number 23 on the Verne Leopards, Brianna Torres, with the ball. Up at the top of the key, really taking her time, something we haven't seen too much in this game.
Looked for the opening, but the ball sadly went out of bounds. It was a really good drive going down to the basket. We've been seeing a lot of that, but that was a really beautiful move.
Absolutely. And finding that open space, that's super important. How important do you think it is going to be for the second quarter in this game?
You know, having those openings on the floor is what's going to be bringing up those points on the scoreboard. Definitely something that both teams have strengths in, you know, opening up and looking for assists.
Absolutely. That's a three-point attempt by number 23, Brianna Torres. Misses, but the Verne Leopards get their own rebound back. Jaslyn Johnson with the ball, passes it back to Valentina with the hot hand, but another offensive rebound. We talked about rebounds and we talked about defense. These two teams have some of the best rebounders in the SCIAC, and right now we're seeing Verne come out on top with that.
Definitely a lot of pressure on the Panthers when it comes to defense. We're not really seeing them block out as much in the key. And honestly, when it comes to those rebounds from Verne, blocking out is the only way that Chapman's going to be able to get that ball back and keep up and get a lead.
Absolutely. Foul was on number 23, Katie Kubo for the Chapman Panthers. Brings number 23 for the Verne Leopards, Brianna Torres, to the line. She misses that first one, so Verne, chance to go up by 2. Or stay at 1. And she makes the second one. 4 seconds left on the clock. We'll see if the Chapman Panthers can come up with something. But instead, it's the Verne Leopards with number 23, Brianna Torres, coming off the bench. She just made such an impact. What can you say about her? Just her energy and her ability to just find the ball.
She definitely has an eye for a ball. You can tell that she's been playing ball for a long time. And you know, when it comes to being on the court, you gotta have that fight. Number one thing on the court is the ball and your team. In order to get that ball, you gotta have that spirit, that competitiveness. You gotta want the ball. And when it comes to really wanting the ball, you can see that the Panthers are fighting as well on defense, trying to get those turnovers. Even though it was a little rocky in the first quarter, we have a comeback and hopefully praying that they get that ball.
Absolutely. We talked about comebacks. Chapman Panthers were up by 7 points, 21-14. The Verne Leopards went on an 11-0 run. Now they're up 4 points, 25-21. What do the Chapman Panthers have to do on the defensive side to just stop this Verne momentum from going any further?
Honestly, in my personal opinion, I'm going to say having to look out in the key, you know, making sure you have your help down there underneath the basket, and communication. You know, when it comes to those layups coming out from Laverne, definitely communicating on the defensive end is something you need to look for, especially with all those drives. And, you know, we have a lot of big girls and tall players on Laverne. Definitely boxing out as well is something you got to make sure you're doing no matter what.
Absolutely. When we look at the height advantage does go to Chapman statistically with Julia Strand over she's 6 feet tall. No player on Laverne is above 6 feet tall, and yet they're making their presence much bigger than that. They're playing like they are 6'8".
Definitely. All that confidence, you know, confidence is a big thing you need to have on the court no matter what standing you hold in the conference.
Absolutely. Here we go with the second quarter. We have Saimi Anana inbounding the ball, looking for her open woman, and she finds Katie Kubo. Katie Kubo, we saw her early on with that hot streak. She has the ball now, passes it to Zoe Zarowski. Zarowski will pull up and just off her mark a little bit.
We're now seeing number 5 from Laverne taking out the ball at point guard, then passing it to the 3-point on the wing, and it's a failed attempt.
Julia Strand able to secure that rebound. A little bit of a risky rebound, so close to the border of the court. Misses, but Chapman's able to get their own rebound, but not able to convert. Laverne back with the ball again, going quick. A block, but a foul. That looks to be on number 1, Juliana Campus. Scoreless so far in the second quarter, but still a lot of time left to play.
Definitely fast-paced as well. They really came back on the court with a competitive spirit.
And back in the hands of Jaslyn Johnson. We talked about her a little bit. She's a graduate student, comes off the bench in their game against Caltech, was one of their key players. Really impactful player, but right now the hot hand goes to number 23, Brianna Torres, as she passes it to her teammate. Really good shot, but just not able to convert. And the Chapman Panthers have their chance to get some control back into this game as the ball is back in the hands of Zoe Zarowski, who hits the three-pointer. That's what the Chapman Panthers needed. It's been almost 5 minutes since they were able to get any sort of points on the board, get a bucket. That's really what they needed at this moment.
Definitely, and with the press coming down, you know, there's a lot of defensive tension going on. They really want to get that ball in their hands on offense.
Absolutely. And Julia Strand able to secure the rebound from the Laverne Leopards after the miss from number 24, Kendall Stanley. Juliana Campos passes it back to Julia Strand, back in the hands of Zarowski. Zarowski thought about a 3, but decided against it. Instead, it's going to be Katie Kubo who hits it, and the Chapman Panthers, with her long 2, have regained the lead with just under 8 minutes to go in the second quarter.
Straight into a 3 from number 2, an attempt that is failed as well.
We see with Laverne, they're kind of going a little quicker than they need to. They had the lead. We've gone back and forth now with Chapman on top, then Laverne, now Chapman back on top. Just need to kind of establish some consistency, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. I think the pace is a little too fast. You can see some players out of breath on the court. Looking right now, we have the ball passing into Julia Strand.
Julia Strand's gonna run the ball up the court. Is she gonna make... And just like that, she was headed towards the middle, towards the paint, right under the basket. She was passing it to number 21, that is Kali Kahala, but just a little miscommunication, and it bounced right off of her hands. And it's back in the hands of the Laverne Leopards with number 23, Brianna Torres. And we see Dejanay Gill back in.
And a foul coming off that screen on number 23 from Laverne. So the ball now is in the hands of the Chapman Panthers.
See Katie Kubo stepping out, and we see Kelly Park back in. These Chapman Panthers, I like what they're doing with their substitutions. I like that they're rotating, not exhausting their players. They have a big roster. They should use it, but...
And that's a foul coming from the Panthers on number 3 from them. Looks as if she fell pretty hard, came up a little bit sore, but it looks like she's walking it off right now.
I know her teammates wanted that to be a charging foul. They were up on their feet, cheering. They are in disbelief, but instead we have free throw attempts from number 21, Dejanay Gill. And the crowd getting riled, getting very riled. You know, we like being into sports here, but we want to keep it respectful here.
Definitely, and with a packed crowd, there's a lot of energy coming from Laverne too.
Absolutely, these two teams being so close to each other, sometimes we see the opposing team crowd just as big as the home crowd. But right now, the Panthers, the mistake that you never want to see, a traveling call.
Definitely, it's one of the hardest things to recover from. From my personal experience, after a travel, you got to get that ball back no matter what.
Absolutely. So the ball right now in the hands of the Laverne Leopards. You see number 23, Brianna Torres, still in. She's had that hot hand, but here we have Dejanay Gill. She passes it. And a block. Julia Strand making an impact on both ends of the floor, just like the Panthers need her to do. What can be said about that impact, making your defensive presence known, even if you aren't performing on the offensive side?
You know, as everyone says, defense is what wins games. You know, you got to get rebounds, you can do steals. Anything on defense can lead your team going to offense and getting that basket.
Absolutely, and we saw it pay off. The Chapman Panthers able to get that defensive rebound, but a turnover on the Chapman Panthers side right into the hands of the Laverne Leopards. See number 0, Marissa Howell, with the ball in her hands, looking for her options, and it's in the hands of Dejanay Gill into Chiara Brown, who just undershoots it.
And the ball is staying in Laverne's hands. We saw a lot of defense going on. It seems like they're staying on the outside of the key, but you can tell that they're trying to recover in the paint when everyone's trying to run in, get deep and down.
Absolutely, and Chiara Brown, we talked about her earlier in the game. She has 10 points already, had the really hot hand at the beginning of the game, and just dove for the ball. That second effort in what would have been done, and it results in a 3-point shot for the Laverne Leopards from number 5, Jaslyn Johnson. Let's see what the Panthers have to answer. Katie Kubo drives it up. And that's going to be a foul on number 0, Marissa Howell. What can you say about these Laverne Leopards just going for the second chance points, their rebounds, their steals, their defensive effort that they're putting in?
Definitely, you know, when it comes to all of that, you can definitely tell that there's a little bit of tension, especially because Marissa Howell is playing at point guard. She seems to have a little bit of an off game, so it's kind of bringing that energy towards the rest of the team too. But it looks like as if they're recovering a little bit, you know. They have substitutions coming in from Laverne, and it looks like they're trying to pick up the pace and get their lead.
Absolutely. Katie Kubo cuts the lead down to 2 with those 2 made free throws. Just under 6 minutes to go in this second quarter here at Hutton Sports Center. The Chapman Panthers taking on the Laverne Leopards. Ball in the hands of number 21, Dejanay Gill, and back to Brianna Torres, who's just slightly off her mark with that 3-point, and rebound by Sammy Anana. And just miscommunication there, trying to get it to Julia Strand, trying to get it to your star player. But they make up for it. Sammy Anana back with the ball. And a foul.
A lot of tension coming with those passes. You know, it's a battle of the clock with 5 minutes left. You can make so many plays, so many opportunities out there, but it looks like the Panthers are a little bit stressed out, even though they are getting those fouls called and getting on the free throw line. You know, communication is what is needed on the floor.
Absolutely. We saw the Laverne Leopards in that first quarter. They came back from a 7-point deficit with just about 3 minutes left on the clock, maybe a little less. We see Sammy Anana make that first free throw. Try saying that 5 times fast. Make that first free throw. Make that first free throw. She lines it up for the second one. and makes the second one. All tied up 30-30 with just over 5 minutes to go. Ball back in the hands of Dawson Bell, who came in for Jaslyn Johnson. Chiara Brown with the ball again, pulls up, and just a little bit off her mark. Battle for the rebound. Julia Strand comes up victorious, but just a miscommunication with her and Katie Kubo. We've seen a couple of those tonight. How do you stop that if you're a player on the court? Just those miscommunications, those turnovers.
You know, with all those overthrows, it's really about how tired you are. You know, your arms are going to be tired, your whole body's tired, running up and down. So it's a matter of keeping that eye out for your teammate, making sure the pass is directed straight towards them, not over.
Brianna Torres missed the layup, but a foul. The Chapman bench not happy about that call. That's the second team foul for the Chapman Panthers in this quarter, and they're going to be taking a timeout. We have just under 5 minutes to go in this second quarter. Very different from that first half. We saw a little bit of the repeated game style going really quickly in those first couple of minutes, but they've slowed down a little bit. What adjustments do you think they've made, and how have their substitutions helped with that?
We're definitely seeing adjustments from the Panthers. You know, Julia Strand is really making sure she keeps an eye on number 25, Kiara Brown. Kiana Brown is a threat in the key as a forward. She seems to always be posting up and getting those shots ready and open. I think her team is really helping her out, you know, keeping that lead. Right now, it's a tied game, 30-30. So definitely looking for open players is something that the team needs to look out for. But what do you think is happening on the court right now?
What I've seen from the Laverne Leopards, the last 4 points by the Chapman Panthers have been free throws, so they need to look out for their fouls. You know, you can be defensive and you can have that energy, which is amazing, but if you're fouling, all that effort is for naught.
Definitely. It's a really aggressive game. You want to be down and dirty, you know. Got to make sure you're posting up, keeping that muscle and keeping that build, you know?
Absolutely. Coming out of that timeout, we're going to take you straight to free throws. Brianna Torres at the line, trying to bring the Laverne Leopards back up. We've seen some back and forth with the scoring this quarter, but she misses the first one. So right now, we're all tied up. And she misses the second one, so we stay tied up here 30-30 with just under 5 minutes to go. Katie Kubo with a screen by Juliana Campos. Juliana Campos kind of had a quiet night so far, but she's helping her team out in ways that you can't always see on the stat sheet. Making those screens, those passes. You have to do that. You can't just be a three-point shooter. You have to be able to make your presence known.
Definitely, and playing at a D3 level, you want to be an all-around and universal player, especially when it comes to facing everyone from different backgrounds and different divisions.
Absolutely. Katie Kubo, a little strong, hits the back of the rim, so we're still tied up here, 30-30, as the Laverne Leopards get it over the key into the hands of Chiara Brown, who gets her 12 points of the night. And when you have a player who was on a hot streak and gets her points again, that could be dangerous. You don't want to get their momentum going. And speaking of momentum, Juliana Campos with her first points of the night, three-pointer for her, and Chapman, or excuse me, a long two for her. Long twos tonight for the Chapman Panthers.
And that was a travel for Laverne. I don't know if that reach overhead was something that the refs did not see, but I would have counted that as a foul.
Yeah, the refs have been pretty diligent with some of the fouls, but a couple of them that we've seen up here, they're just letting them play on.
Definitely. I think they're just letting the competition go. It's still a tied game, 32-32.
Ball back in the hands of Katie Kubo, who passes it to number 13, Aurel Chalon. We haven't seen her too much in this game. She's a forward like Julia Strand, coming in for Julia Strand. So it'll be interesting to see her impact on the game. Katie Kubo, a little bit of a circus shot, doesn't quite hit the mark, and the ball back in the hands of the Laverne Leopards with just over 3 minutes to go.
And that's another shot from number 25 on Laverne, Kiara Brown. She's definitely applying a lot of pressure on Oral, number 13 from the Panthers.
Absolutely. And that's going to bring the Laverne Leopards up by 2 points. And 2 points, even if it's just 2 points, being up at halftime is such a big thing mentally. Just if you're on top, you feel great. If you're down, then you have to overcome that. Oral looking, passes it off to Kubo, passes it off to Inanna, and just a little strong. Ball back in the hands of the Laverne Leopards, almost overthrown. A mistake we've seen quite a few times tonight, but manages to get control of it. Brianna Torres back with the ball, and a travel call.
That would have been a beautiful move if it wasn't for that travel, you know.
Absolutely.
We're definitely seeing a lot of good moves in the paint tonight, you know, not just from the forwards, but the guards as well. It's really shocking to see them moving around and really making their way through to the basket.
Absolutely, and credit to Juliana Campus on that. She was defending Brianna for that shot and just made her commit that travel on what would have been a really flashy move.
Definitely.
And we see Julia Strand is back in the game. Not too much of a rest for her. They want her on this court for the last 2 minutes of this game. Ball back in Julia Strand's hand. She runs up the floor, passes that half-court line, passes it to Ishibashi. Ishibashi back into this game for the first time in a while. Ball in the hands of Juliana Campus to Julia Strand. Julia Strand out to Zoe Zarowski, who just kind of hits the bottom of the rim. Unfortunate when that shot, you're falling out of bounds. And
a foul on number 12 from the Panthers, Julia Strand. She's definitely having a tough night tonight. I'm seeing a lot of little errors on defense, but, you know, coming off the bench, she did come in a little strong. We're seeing her keep fighting and everything. And the ball is now being taken out again by the Laverne Leopards. Ball gets passed in.
Absolutely. Dawson Bell with the ball. And, you know, even a rough night for Julia Strand defensively with some of those communication errors. She's still in double digits right now, 10 points. Just goes to show just how impactful she is for this team. But one thing she does have to be careful of, which has happened earlier in the season, about a month ago against Pomona Pitzer, is foul trouble. She fouled out of the game. They lost that game in overtime. I know they don't want to see that happen again today.
Definitely, and you know, luckily for both teams, none of them are in the bonus yet. It's almost 1 minute until the end of the second quarter. Both teams have 3 to 4 fouls each, and it's just a matter of who can make their free throws and who can't.
That was Dawson Bell. She hit both of those free throws. With just under 2 minutes to play, the ball's in the hands of Zoe Zarowski. Zarowski running up quickly. Here we go, we see that heightened pace. Maybe that's being behind. Ishibashi with the quick shot and just off the mark, back in the hands of the Laverne Leopards. See what Laverne does, if they're gonna keep that fast pace or if they're gonna slow it down. They're in the lead, they don't need to rush.
And the ball is out of bounds again on number 38.
On number 22. Zoe Zarowski. You know, sometimes we have a little bit of trouble up here. We got our contact lenses in, but maybe we need our little opera glasses. Regardless, that brings the ball back to the side of the Laverne Leopards with just over a minute to go, and they can get this. It's already a 2-possession game. They could make it a 3-possession game with a 3-pointer, which I know the Chapman Panthers really do not want.
And that was a jump ball again, and the ball is still in the hands of the Laverne Leopards. And the ball's overthrown.
And the Chapman Panthers are finally able to capitalize on one of those errors, but Julia Strand just too much power. Ishibashi tries to get the ball, diving for it. Good hustle, but just unfortunately not the result that she would have wanted. We're approaching the final minute of this second quarter. What can the Chapman Panthers do just to get a little bit of control of this half?
You know, I really think that they're on an adrenaline rush right now. They really feel the pressure. They're excited to play one of the top teams. And it's all a matter of just calming yourself down, staying focused, and really exerting as much focus you can towards the ball. You know, Julia Stratton seems to be communicating with her team a lot.
Absolutely. All right, the Chapman Panthers get the stop that they need. Let's see if they can capitalize it. Ball in the hands of their star, Julia Strand. She's looking around, surveying her options. And beautiful assist. That's number 21, Callie Kahala. We've seen her come off the bench, get a couple of key buckets, and a block for the Chapman Panthers. They have a chance to tie it up with just over 30 seconds to go. Tie it up or even take the lead. It all depends on what they do with this ball. It's in the hands of Ishibashi. She's at the top of the key, looking at her options. Ball in the hands of Sammy Nana. Juliana Campus tries for her shot, but is rejected. Laverne Leopards with the ball with the final 10 seconds, most likely going to get that final shot. Will they capitalize it? Marissa Howell driving it in, pulls up, fades away. And that's going to end our second quarter and our first half. The Laverne Leopards up 36-34. Woo! What a battle.
Definitely. You know, kind of hard commentating from up here. It's a fast-paced game, a lot to talk about, and a lot of key players making a big appearance on the court. You know, they're really showing out tonight. And, you know, just a lot of tension. What do you think about the game so far, Zoe?
Absolutely. You mentioned those key players. We have a couple of injuries and substitutions for the Chapman Panthers. Mia Yamamoto hasn't been able to play the last month with an injury. Aiden Sherfy also out. She is a freshman. She took over that role. But Zoe Zarowski, she stepped in, and she's the second leading scorer on this Panthers team with 8 points, almost in double digits, just below Julia Strand. So I want to see them getting more involved. I want to see them playing to their perimeter a little bit more and just not having to take so many tough shots, so many quick shots.
Definitely, and you know, we want to see a little bit more pick and rolls. I think they can really make use out of Julia Strand. And what do you think about, you know, Julia Strand playing so far?
I think that Julia Strand is making an impact. She's getting those rebounds, which the Chapman Panthers, they're getting a little bit outplayed in that. So I want to see her just keep doing that, and I want to see her slowing down a little bit. She's really good at getting into the paint, but then she can lose it a little bit, which is credit to the Laverne Leopards. And speaking of the Laverne Leopards and the Chapman Panthers, there are some great plays of this half that we want to take a look at. So we're going to take a look at some highlights. See Juliana Campus. She passes it off to Zoe Zarowski. Zarowski, we were just talking about her. She got that three early on. That was a really big momentum shifter for her, getting her in the game.
Another big play from Laverne, passing it to number 25, Kiara Brown. Kiara Brown is a big threat in that paint. We're seeing her post up and really put up a competition for Julia Strand.
Absolutely. She has 14 points already in this first half, which is over a third of the points for the Laverne Leopards. And another player with some impact coming off the bench, that was number 2 for the Laverne Leopards, Valentina Lamont. Just hit a couple of key three-pointers, and that's really important coming off the bench. And that was part of that momentum shift when the Laverne Leopards were down by 7 and quickly became up by 4. You see the Panthers, they had some good shots, they had some good three-pointers, and the Laverne Leopards, that's number 5, Jaslyn Johnson, that graduate student, that leadership present, that seniority that we just talked about. It's so important just to be able to trust your team and those senior players.
Going back to Jaslyn Johnson makes about 34% of her three-point shots. Definitely someone that the Panthers want to make sure they're looking for out on the wing.
Absolutely. The Panthers, they had some good shots in the wing, but they had some really good shots in the paint too. We saw that last shot, that was Callie Kahala, and that was assisted by Julia Strand. Julia Strand, you know, even if she doesn't have to score 30 points. She scored 29 points in the last meeting of the Laverne Leopards, but those assists, those rebounds, that's really important. to give us a little more insight, we're going to toss it down to Angela Hara back on the sideline.
Wow, 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 everyone. What an intense first half, let me tell you. Since the start of that 20-minute clock, both teams have been completely intense so far. We've been able to see Chapman take the lead, then switch to Laverne taking the lead, then both of them going out of taking the lead and turning on each other. It has been nothing but intense, just as I said in the pregame. And a note on the crowd here, everyone. It is rowdy, it is intense, and it's adding to the adrenaline of both teams. And it's been such a great experience. And hopefully we can get a post-game interview on whoever is available. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Angie. Just so great to hear. And she mentioned the crowd. They are rowdy tonight. We have someone up here in the stands walking around, pacing back and forth, really into it. Great to see that fan involvement, but man, is it tough.
Definitely, and it's a really packed crowd. Just like Zoe was saying earlier, you know, Laverne is pretty close to Chapman. Looks like everyone, their mom, their dad, their grandma, everyone's here in the court right now.
Absolutely, but not just the crowd that we have to worry about. We have to worry about the second half. What do both teams need to do in order to establish their dominance and establish their game?
Looking into the second half, you know, I think it's all about momentum. I'm going to say that a lot, but momentum is something that's going to carry both of the teams. Going too fast, you're going to tire out your team. Going too slow, that has space for errors as well. Definitely keeping up the competition with the forwards. You know, it's a battle in the paint, getting those shots, making your posts work and everything.
Absolutely. We're going to take a little halftime break here, and we will see you soon. So don't change that channel here on the SkyEye Network.
the arrival. I came in the league, went straight for the title. No time to idle. I'm finna get it, put that on the Bible. This is survival. Gotta treat every move made like the final. 1 by a mile. Nobody believe it, they all in denial. Look at me, look at me. Still in the show, that's the crook in me. They want me gone with the hook in me. Asking why is he here like I shouldn't be. I've been on grind since Otto. 10,000 hours the motto. They see the bag is coming out and flocking to me like I won the lotto. Dancing with the devil, there's no recital. I'm killing competition, ain't no revival. I shoot it to kill it, I'm aiming for vitals. I'm showing no mercy when facing my rivals. Snakes in the grass, they getting exposed. I know they be lurking, I'm watching them close. Acting like friends, but really they foes. Saw they be scheming and said adios. Get it, don't mindset. Ay, back with a vengeance, back on the grinds, back to the business. Ay, God is my witness, they watching my moves like shows they binging. Ay, best keep distance, all of my haters send best of wishes. I get to the bag with the quickness, no I don't need no assistance, no. Yeah, no playing it safe. I said let's get it, you say not today. What can I say? You ain't gon' go for it, get out the way. Got no time to waste. Can't be with me if you're not at my pace. You're not at my level, you're not in my race. 1 foot on the gas, I'm pushing the brakes. Dancing with the devil, there's no recital. I'm killing competition, ain't no revival. I shoot it to kill it, I'm aiming for vitals. I'm showing no mercy when facing my rivals. Snakes in the grass, they getting exposed. I know they be lurking, I'm watching them close. Acting like friends, but really they foes. Saw they be scheming and said adios. Yeah, I gotta get it. Get it, don't mindset. I gotta get it, don't mindset. I gotta get it, don't mindset.
Welcome back here on the SkyX Network to Hutton Sports Center. If you're just joining us, the Chapman Panthers are playing the Laverne Leopards. We're getting ready for the second half, and already it's been a battle. 36-34, back and forth scoring, blown leads, comebacks, tied games. We've had it all. In case you're just joining us now, I'm Zoe Franklin. I'm joined with Isabella Savea, and we are going to be calling this game. And we're about to start our second half. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good tonight. You know, I really didn't think the score was going to be this close at all, especially with Verne at the top seat in the conference.
Absolutely. We saw early on the Chapman Panthers had a lead of 21-14. Laverne was able to come back and then had a 4-point lead. Chapman was able to come back, tie it, and Laverne now up on by 2. As we saw, first play of the game, Julia Strand managed to hit her shot, but wasn't able to count it. And we're heading back to the Verne Leopards, who keep the ball on their side. The ball was intended for number 25, Kiara Brown. Kiara Brown, 14 points in the first half. Huge impact score. Most of her points coming from the paint, just like that.
We're definitely seeing a lot of shot attempts tonight, but you know, when it comes to statistics, my apologies, it's hard to say. The Chapman Panthers definitely have a higher percentage in making those field goals and attempt at shots.
Absolutely, the Chapman Panthers just hitting about under 50% of their shots, but the Laverne Leopards getting more shot attempts, and the more shots you attempt, the lower your percentage is gonna be. And yet they're still up by 4 points. See the ball in the hands of number 21, Dejanay Gill, who passes it out to number 22, Dawson Bell, who just undershoots it. The ball is in the hands of Katie Kubo. Katie Kubo had a hot start at the start of this game, 4 quick points. Slowed down a little bit, but playing her point guard role, she's been really surveying her options, trying to get those assists, create those shots, but the Laverne Leopards have just been coming out so strong, and just a little too strong for that one.
We're definitely seeing a a change in how Julia Strand is playing in the second half. You know, she was a little hesitant in the first half, but right now she's really showing out. She's trying to block out as much as possible, get those rebounds, and really trying to block those shots seen in the paint from Laverne.
Absolutely. The Panthers are still trying to get their first score of the half. Laverne Leopards have only scored 1 bucket, but still just getting your first points can really help to get your momentum going. We see the ball in the hands of number 13, Angelica Gonzalez. She's had a little bit of a quiet game. We've seen Brianna Torres, number 23. She's a substitution. We'll probably see her come off the bench a little bit later. She's just been a really big impact player with assists, getting clutch shots. But right now, you see Kiara Brown back at the free throw line.
Definitely. Another player we haven't been hearing much from is number 0, Marissa Howell. We mentioned her as one of the key players tonight. Definitely is helping when it comes to being a point guard. She's leading her team, keeping the momentum going, but we haven't been seeing some shots throwing up from her as well.
Yeah, 0 for 3 on the night for her. As we mentioned at the beginning of this game, 26 points in their last match against Claremont Mudscripts. But tonight, it's just been a kind of quiet night as the Laverne Leopards have gotten a lot of their points from the paint. The ball is back in the hands of Sammy Anana. Kind of loses control of it a little bit, but a foul. That's on number 13, Angelica Gonzalez, her first personal. And the Chapman Panthers get the ball again. The ball's back in the hands of Anana to Katie Kubo, who's just short with that 3 ball. Laverne Leopards running it up the court pretty fast. Ooh, beautiful pass, gorgeous.
And we even saw a double team on Kiara Brown. You know, she's a real big threat in the paint, like we said earlier, so the Panthers definitely feel pressure to double team on her in there.
But at the risk with double teaming, she had that excellent slip pass to number 13, Angelica Gonzalez. Commentators curse, we talked about her, so she said, all right, I'll give you something to talk about. Julia Strand just off her mark a little bit. And the ball's going back the other way to the Laverne Leopards with a foul on number 2, Sammy Anana. The Laverne Leopards are now up by 8 points, 42-34, a 6-0 run to start off this second quarter. What do you think is different coming out of this first quarter, out of this half? Because at the beginning of the first quarter, we saw the teams going back and forth, but right now it's all the Laverne Leopards.
Definitely, you know, coming into the second half, we definitely see the coach of Laverne seem a little stressed out. I don't think he thought that the game would be this close, so he's definitely saying some things to the girls, keeping the momentum and always, you know, coaching them through it.
Absolutely, but we're seeing their tricks come out. We're going to take a look at that replay, that slip pass by Kiara Brown, and just beautiful Angelica Gonzalez, just completely open lane, and just the easy shot.
One of the nicest plays we've seen so far in the game. You know, we're seeing a lot of movement in the paint, but that by far has to be our best, has to be the best, and one of my favorites this afternoon.
Absolutely, and in the modern era of basketball, we see so much emphasis on the 3-ball. We talked about it at the beginning of the game with Juliana Campos. She is one of the best 3-point shooters in the league, but just getting the ball in the basket and keeping the game going, that's important. Laverne Leopards back in control with Dawson Bell driving it up the middle, double teams, back to Kiara, just with a nice jumper. Kiara Brown, it's her game right now, and we're all just watching it unfold. Let's see what the Panthers can do. Giuliana Campos with the ball at the top of the key. Marissa Howell in front of her. She passes it off to number 21, Ali Kahala. Julia Strand gets the Panthers their first points of the quarter with just under 7 minutes to go.
That was a nice tip on the pass from Julia Strand. You know, with that height, you really got to make use for it, and she's definitely making use of that in the second half. We didn't really see much from her in that first one, but she's definitely putting some improvements and changes.
Absolutely. Julia Strand, the leading scorer for the Chapman Panthers. That's her 12th points of the night. Zoe Zarowski, we talked about her. She is a player who often comes off the bench, was a starter for tonight, filling in for Aiden Sherfy, who is filling in for Mia Yamamoto. a little bit of a chain of command here, but the rest of this Chapman Panthers team, we want to see them get involved. We want to see that team ball as the Laverne Leopards have the ball once again. Dawson Bell in control.
And Kelly Park seems to be keeping up with her. You know, Dawson Bell's really good at handling the ball, but defensively, number 3 on the Panthers, Kelly Park definitely coming in clutch, helping with that.
Absolutely, and that was just excellent defense, but Dawson Bell just had better offense this time, was able to get that nice jumper clean right through the net. Julia Strand going right up the middle. Zoe Zarowski completely open, just rolls off the rim. Really nice shot setup. Something we've seen the Panthers do, and we saw that early in the first quarter with Zoe Zarowski making that 3. If they can keep doing more with those shots, I think that'll be really productive for them.
Nice pass from Julia Strand to number 22, Zoe Zarowski, who attempts the shot.
And back in the hands of Kelly Park. Good offensive rebound. We saw in the first half, the Chapman Panthers struggled a little bit on that, but the ball's back in the hands of the Laverne Leopards. Angelica Gonzalez with the ball, passes it back to Dawson Bell. Dawson Bell will keep the ball as a timeout is called.
We're seeing a big change in the score for Laverne. Score is currently 36-46, a 10-point difference. How do you think about the game so far, Zoe?
I think Laverne is really taking advantage of their mismatches. They're taking advantage of open space. They're getting a lot of their scores from the paint. And the Chapman Panthers, they have Julia Strand, who is a great interior defender, but a lot of their players, their guards, Katie Kubo, Juliana Campus, they're exterior defenders. So the Laverne Leopards are taking advantage of it, and it's working.
Definitely, and you know, with the Panthers, they are depending on Julia Strand a lot. We can see them trying to set up some passes for her in the paint, but most of the time, you know, defense is taking over that. We see a lot of movement coming from Dejanay Gill and Dawson Bell as well. A lot of competition in the paint for the forwards. I think it's one of the biggest things we're seeing tonight as well.
Absolutely. I think if the Chapman Panthers can hit their shots from the three-point line, which they've had some good looks, then they can try and close this gap. We're going to take you back to the Laverne Leopards, who still have the ball. Dawson Bell inbounding it, looking for her open woman, gets it to Dejanay Gill. Passes it off to Angelica Gonzalez. Dawson Bell back with the ball. We see Kiara Brown is out right now. Let's see if the Panthers are able to take advantage of that. Marissa Howell just a little short.
She seems like she's having a hard time out there. What do you think is going through her mind right now?
You know, she hasn't quite been getting the shots that she likes. We know she likes the three-point line. 6 of her 7 shots in her last game were from beyond the arc. And we saw that. She tried that little one-hand floater, and it just didn't quite make it. So I'm not sure if she just isn't getting the shot she wants, or if she's feeling a little rushed, if she's feeling pressure. But if something's not working, then how do you overcome that? How do you rely on your team?
Definitely. And you know, I feel like doing that defense outside of, you know, the little shell looking area, the three-point line, my apologies. You know, I feel like there's a lot of pressure on her. You know, the Panthers are really putting up a good fight on defense. And, you know, I think we're going to look at a little replay in a little bit as well.
Yeah, and everyone forgets names of things. I was not a former basketball player, but Izzy was. She is so credible in that front. You know, I forgot the out-of-bounds line. I forgot the word out-of-bounds earlier.
Everyone makes mistakes, but you know, when it comes to mistakes, that's something that the Panthers don't want to make, especially with them being down in score as well. 10 points behind Laverne.
Absolutely, just 2 points in this third quarter for the Chapman Panthers. They're really gonna look to change that with Julia Strand running the ball up the court. She has the ball in her hand, she's in control. She passes it off to Juliana Campus. That's what she wanted, and it's back in her hands. They're playing at the top of the key and just off the mark. That is number 42. That is Colleen Navasarshan. We haven't seen her for this game. This is her first time coming in. She started a couple of games earlier in this season when Julia Strand was out. So it'll be great to see what her impact is today. Kelly Park with the ball again, passes it off to Colleen, looking around, out to Juliana Campus. Juliana Campus slowing down, but we didn't see too much in the first quarter. And that's going to be a foul on the Laverne Leopards on number 24, Kendall Stanley. A senior forward. Laverne Leopards, they're a very guard-heavy team.
Definitely, and then we just saw a substitution with Katie Kubo and Zoe Zarasi coming back into the game. And a jump ball. We haven't been seeing a lot of jumps recently too. Not a lot of battle on the floor, getting down there and, you know, working. Yeah,
the Laverne Leopards, right now they just look like they're out hustling the Panthers, to put it simply. We're gonna see Julia Strand getting some well-deserved rest. Just 2 points for her this quarter, the only 2 points for the Chapman Panthers, as the Laverne Leopards are back in control again with the ball. See Dejanay Gill driving it up the middle. And a foul on the Chapman Panthers. That was on number 3, Kelly Park. That is her 3rd personal. You gotta look out for that. We still have a whole other quarter left to go, and Kelly Park being one of their main substitutions, that could be a difficult thing to overcome. So we see her step out and Kylie Ishibashi step back in. Dejanay Gill hits the first free throw. Chapman Panthers now down by 13. Laverne up by 13. About to hit the 50-point mark, but not quite.
If we're talking about free throws, let's look at how the statistics look right now. The Laverne Leopards made only 6 of 11 shots, while Chapman Panthers is actually 100% for all their free throws, 6 of 6. So really it is a battle going between that, because free throws, 1 point, it's a big difference no matter what.
Absolutely. If we get into a situation in the 4th quarter where it's going to depend on free throws, the Chapman Panthers do have the statistical advantage, but the Laverne Leopards are getting a lot more free throw attempts, meaning the Panthers are fouling a lot more. What do you think about that, about the fouls that they're committing, the unnecessary fouls?
You know, when it comes to fouls, I feel like any little thing may be called when it comes to the 4th quarter. It's a lot of competition out there, and when it comes to free throws, it looks like they're not trying to foul Katie Kubo. You know, she has the highest percentage with free throws as well.
Absolutely. Katie Kubo slips it out to Colleen, who makes an impact. Those are her first points of the game, only the 2nd bucket for the Chapman Panthers. And wow, is it loud in here. These Chapman Panther fans are aggressively loud, which is what you want to hear when it's your team, but it's definitely a battle. You can feel the tension in this auditorium.
Definitely, and that was just a foul on number 13, Oral Shilon, coming from the Chapman Panthers. We're gonna see number 22, Dawson Bell, on the free throw line again. Hopefully she'll make these next 2 shots and keep that lead for her Leopard team.
We see Julia Strand back out on the court, not a long break for her. I know that she wants to be out there. I know she wants to be able to lead her team. But right now, these fouls are going to be a problem. The only saving grace is the Laverne Leopards aren't making a lot of them. Dawson Bell does manage to hit 1 out of 2, so the Laverne Leopards back up by 13.
And that was a big and obvious travel from Julia Strand, who just got back in the game. You know, the Chapman Panthers really needed that ball on offense just now, but unfortunately, it's back to the Laverne Leopards.
Yeah, we saw every single player on the Laverne bench stand up. They were not going to let that go uncalled. So it's back to the Laverne Leopards, back with Jaslyn Johnson, who's back in, that graduate student coming off the bench, big impact player. But that was an offensive foul by the Laverne Leopards. That little bit of a break that the Panthers needed. Only the 3rd foul for the Laverne Leopards in this quarter. So not even close to the bonus yet for the Panthers. Julia Strand back with the ball. And easy shot for her. The Chapman Panthers finally break 40 points with under 3 minutes to go in this 3rd quarter. Jaslyn Johnson back with the ball in her hands, in control. She ran into traffic, and that's gonna be another Panther foul. That's the first foul on Kylie Ishibashi, and another foul for the Chapman Panthers. Feels like every single time we go on the Laverne side, there's a foul.
Definitely, and you know, in the past 2 minutes, we've seen them on the line about 3 to 4 times already. Very dangerous when it comes to keeping that lead with Laverne. And another shot is made by Jaslyn Johnson.
Jaslyn Johnson, just, what can you say when you're one of the leaders and you're coming off the bench? Do you feel more pressured, or do you trust your team and try and make your minutes count?
You know, I definitely see chemistry on the court, and I feel like she has a lot of trust in her team. You know, they're very confident with their plays, very confident with their passes, and even being in the help for their team too.
Absolutely. Chapman Panthers trying to get something going. The ball is back in the hands of Julia Strand, who pulls up, long 2, just bounces off the front of the rim, and back to the Laverne Leopards we go. Dawson Bell running up the court pretty quickly, slowing it down a little bit, establishing her control, looking for her options. And the ball is back in the hands of Kiara Brown, who quickly gives it up. A little bit of a break for the Panthers as Julia Strand gets that rebound. Ball's back in the hands of Zoe Zarowski. Zarowski driving it up the middle, out to Colleen, who gives the Panthers a much-needed score. Those are the 4th points for Colleen Navasarshan. Again, came into the bench late, but really helping the Panthers right now on their offensive struggles. And speaking of offensive, the Laverne Leopards able to get another offensive rebound. And the ball's back in the hands of Jaslyn Johnson. And another foul.
You can tell Jaslyn Johnson was a little hesitant up there. You know, it was a battle between her and the shot clock. She was left with only 4 seconds before she ended up on the ground. But yet again, we're seeing her on the free throw line again. Definitely a lot of competition coming from the Leopards. They're really trying to get those shots up, and you know, the Panthers are a little lazy on defense right now. A lot of fouls in this 3rd quarter alone. They're up with only 5 fouls compared to the Verne with 3 fouls.
Absolutely, and Jaslyn Johnson, one of the shorter players on this roster, sitting at 5'4", but she's really going at it. She's not just staying outside the key, she's driving in, and she's getting those fouls and hitting those free throws, which is just putting Laverne up ahead. Up by 12 with just over 1 minute of play time left to go. Ball in the hands of Katie Kubo, who's driving it up the lane. Risky pass to Zoe Zarowski, almost rolled it to her like a bowling ball, but ball back in the hands of Katie Kubo, who just overshoots that reverse layup. Ball back in the hands of Jaslyn Johnson as we are sub 1 minute in this 3rd quarter of the Chapman Panthers versus the Laverne Leopards. Jaslyn Johnson, we've said her name a lot this quarter. She's been the main ball handler for the last few minutes for this Laverne Leopards team, and she's really doing a good job at it. Trying to get past Katie Kubo, pulls up from beyond the free throw line, and that jumper is good.
She's been getting a lot of open shots, you know, her team really helping her on that offense. And that was a beautiful layup from Julia Strand, very quick.
A nice quick score, that's what the Panthers needed. They finally hit 10 points in this quarter, above double digits. Something about it psychologically just helps you.
And that was an offensive foul. With only 10 seconds left in this quarter, it's a big mistake. You know, they're just giving the ball back to the Panthers, who can set up an easy and open shot for Julia Strand if they really wanted to.
Absolutely, and the Panthers, if they get the last shot of this of this quarter. They can keep that momentum going into the fourth quarter and try and come back from this lead. They've done it before. They can do it again. Katie Kubo with the ball in her hands, setting up the final shot of the quarter, driving past Dawson Bell, who just denies her. Absolutely denies her. So
looking at the third quarter, we can definitely see a big difference in the score. You know, looking at that second half, the game was pretty close, but now Laverne is up by almost 12 points, 44-56. How do you think about the second half going so far, Zoe?
Laverne is playing their game. They outscored the Panthers 20-10, and they've just had better scores. They've had better assists. They've set up better shots, and we're going to look at some of those as we look back at some of these replays from the third quarter. We talked about this pass. We saw this replay earlier. I could see it 100 times again. That slip pass from Kiara Brown to Angelica Gonzalez. It was just so perfect. Look at it. Just absolute textbook play.
Definitely, you know, right now we're seeing a battle again, and that's Kiara Brown with the ball again, making a shot from the elbow. Definitely was a turner in the game, really set the momentum for the Leopards.
Absolutely. We said a couple of names a lot. One of them was Dawson Bell. We saw her at the line, but we also saw her making her shots, driving in, and here we saw her again, just with that easy layup, finding the space. But Colleen, she gave the Panthers some scores when they needed them most. It'll be interesting to see if they keep her in, if Coach Carroll is going to keep her in, or if they're going to rely on their starters as we get ready to start the final quarter of this matchup. Ball is back in the hands of Katie Kubo. Juliana Campos with it in her hands. Back to Katie Kubo. Playing, kind of hovering outside that wing, pulls up, and that is exactly what the Panthers need.
Definitely setting the tone for the fourth quarter. We're seeing the Panthers really stepping it up right now. It seems like they're communicating more on defense, you know, really staying with their man too.
Absolutely. It took the Panthers over 3 minutes to score in the last quarter. Already with 30 seconds, they got their first bucket. But the Laverne Leopards, they're not letting up easy. This is their game. They're up by 12. They don't have to battle back. The Panthers do.
And that's another turnover again from number 22, Dawson Bell. She's really showing out this game, especially with that layup she just made right now.
Absolutely. She was because of that steal, she was able to go on a fast break, but then she was able to stop, establish herself, and just lay it up and in. And that just shows how much the Laverne Leopards are fighting. But speaking of fighting, Sammy Anana is saying that she's not done yet. It does end up getting her a foul, but I'm glad to see that hustle. I'm glad to see the Panthers still fighting.
Me too, you know. With the score being down 14 points, you know, we want the Panthers to really keep that momentum going, keep that fighting spirit, especially when they're working a press right now. And the ball is in.
Jaslyn Johnson back with the ball in her hands. Ooh, a big trip up between her and Katie Kubo. Hard fall. Hard fall. We saw her head kind of hit the hardwood floor first, her teammates surrounding her.
When it comes to injuries, that's something the Panthers really need to look out for, you know. We have some girls sitting out today. For example, Mia Yamamoto sitting out from an injury that may take her out the rest of the season. We also saw injuries earlier this season too. Julia Strand sitting out that game with the Cal Lutheran team too.
Absolutely. Katie Kubo able to come up on her own, but going towards the bench. Always good to see a player being able to walk up on their own. But going on, if Katie Kubo has to sit out the rest of the game, that is a big impact player. Kelly Park is going to have to step up into a huge role, which we know she can do.
Definitely. She's really helped with the momentum as well, you know, with the substitution between her and Katie Kubo, definitely helping to keep that organization on the Chapman side.
Absolutely. Just over 8 minutes to go in this game. Jaslyn Johnson with the ball in her hands. The Laverne Leopards, they've been switching kind of between Jaslyn Johnson and Dawson Bell being their main ball handler. and it's really worked for them. It's kind of helped alleviate some of that pressure.
Definitely. You can see a lot of trust in their point guards, especially because they are heavy with guards on their team.
Absolutely, and we saw with their guards, they know how to defend guards. Zoe Zarowski, she had that shot earlier in the game, that left wing three-pointer, but she just got blocked by Dawson Bell.
Definitely. And you know, with Katie Kubo on the sidelines, Kelly Park is definitely bringing it up on defense. She's really keeping the Panthers at the momentum they need to be at, always defending and, you know, communicating as best as she can.
Absolutely. The Panthers bit the ball again, the ball in the hands of Juliana Campos. Juliana Campos, kind of a quiet night for her, usually one of their three-point scorers, the leading three-point scorer on this team, but she's had to make her mark in other ways. She's had to find space, she's pulled up, and just that one, it was a good shot, but just a little strong, hitting the back of the rim.
Great attempt from Dawson Bell, trying to work on a 2v1 in the paint just now.
But they were able to convert. Defense creates offense, and that was just such an easy shot. Juliana Campos way ahead of the pack, right under the rim, and just able to get the easy layup. Dawson Bell back with the ball again, like we were talking about, switching between her and Jaslyn Johnson as the main ball handlers. Ball back in the hands of number 24, Kendall Stanley. Kind of a quiet night for her as well, one of their senior forwards in this guard-heavy team, but still having multiple forwards out helps the Laverne Leopards have an answer for Julia Strand.
That was a beautiful shot just now. Wide open. All net.
All net, baby. And that brings the Panthers within 10 points, 60-50 with 6.5 minutes to go left in this game. Chapman Panthers trying to battle their way back against these Laverne Leopards, the top seed in the SCIAC Conference, 11-0, undefeated since November. Can they do it? Do they have enough gas left in the tank?
And yet again, it's a battle with the shot clock. We saw Jaslyn Johnson holding the ball a little longer than usual. The last time she only had 4 seconds left, but now back at the top, she's definitely trying to run that shot clock, bring a little pressure, and really rush the Panthers.
Absolutely. There was only 1 second left on the shot clock when Brianna Torres got that shot off, but it was able to hit the rim, and the Laverne Leopards were able to get an offensive rebound. And again, another offensive rebound. These Chapman Panthers are just getting outplayed on the boards.
Definitely, and now we're looking at another substitution. We're bringing back Kiara Brown and Angelica Gonzalez. These two definitely are keeping up the momentum for the Leopards, helping down in the key. You can tell those two have chemistry. They're working that pick and roll down there, trying to get shots open for Brown.
Absolutely. Katie Kubo with the ball back in her hands. Just under 6 minutes to go in this game. Katie Kubo taking some hard falls. You know, just a few minutes ago, we saw her fall on her head, a bit of a scary fall. Good to see her back in the game, but another hard fall for her.
It seems that the Leopards are looking at Katie Kubo as one of the biggest competitions on the Panthers. You know, they're really making sure that they stay with their man up there. We can see Jaslyn Johnson switching out and making sure Katie Kubo's always watched no matter what.
Absolutely. One of the best at assists in the SCIAC Conference, 6th in the league, and also a really prolific free throw shooter, over 80%.
And that just now was a little bit of overthrow that ended up in a foul on Kiara Brown. It seemed like she kind of hit a little bit on the back, reaching over. A little difficult to call, especially when, you know, you're assertive that you know what you're doing on defense.
Absolutely, and Kiara Brown is someone that the Laverne Leopards definitely don't want to see in foul trouble. She has been their leading scorer the entire night. She has 20 points tonight, but the Chapman Panthers back within single digits with Julia Strand getting that two-pointer. Just over 5 minutes to go, 60-52. The Chapman Panthers cutting into what was once a 13-point Laverne Leopards lead.
And another beautiful play with Angelique Gonzalez and Kiara Brown. We saw that earlier in the third quarter, but that right there was another open shot for Kiara Brown.
Absolutely. In the third quarter, it was Kiara having the assist. Now she scored, but the Chapman Panthers having an answer of their own, keeping it in single digits, 8-point deficit, less than 5 minutes to go. Ball in the hands of Kiara Brown. She's fighting against Julia Strand, and she travels. That is not the call the Laverne Leopards want. We see Coach Jason Pruitt not happy with that.
Definitely, you know, it seems Kiara Brown is really trying to work her momentum in the paint. She's trying to draw those fouls so she can get on that line. You know, with being one of the top scorers for the Leopards, she has 3 fouls. Little foul trouble over there. Definitely with 4 minutes left, a lot of pressure is going to be on her to keep getting those shots up, working with Angelique Gonzalez and the momentum. We see a little frustration from her on the sidelines too.
Absolutely. I mean, she's got 22 points in this game. Huge impact player, but if she keeps making those fouls, getting those calls that she doesn't necessarily like or want, then it could be a big moment of concern for them. For the Chapman Panthers, they found their little bit of spark. Do you think that they're going to be able to maintain it coming out of this timeout?
You know, in my opinion, I think that the Chapman Panthers are going to continue to keep that spark going. You know, they brought Katie Kubo back on the court, definitely has trust in their point guard. Katie Kubo is definitely a big leader in that team. And now we're going to see both Katie Kubo and number 3, Kelly Park, playing at the same time. Let's see how that goes for the 4th quarter.
Yeah, the Chapman Panthers playing some small ball with their junior guards, Katie Kubo and Kelly Park, both sitting at 5'2", trying to get past those forwards for the Laverne Leopards. Here we go, Katie Kubo with the ball, going fast. She passes it out to Kelly Park. Kelly Park with the ball into Julia Strand. Julia Strand battling for it, and a jump ball.
And it seems that the jump ball is going back to the Laverne Leopards, something that the Panthers really shouldn't have happened.
Julia Strand, we've seen her a couple times tonight, just some miscommunications with her passes, passing being a little bit low and just not able to get her hands on it the way that she needs to. So the ball back in the hands of the Laverne Leopards with just over 4 minutes to go, up by 8. Ball back in the hands of Brianna Torres. No, excuse me, Angelica Gonzalez, number 13 and number 23. Brianna Torres, she was a big impact player in the first half. We haven't seen her too much just because it's been such a game in the paint, but this time, not today.
Definitely, and that was just a timeout call from the Laverne Leopards. You know, just now we saw a lot of tension down there. What did you think about that, Zoe?
I think that with just over 4 minutes to go, both of these teams want to establish that and be in control. The Laverne Leopards, they had control all of the 3rd quarter. They were able to outscore the Panthers 20-10, and the Chapman Panthers were able to cut into that. But the Chapman Panthers, they need to make sure to keep it going, and just that miscommunication with Julia Strand, that can be that moment where it just is the shift.
Definitely, and with Chapman being 10 points behind, we see them making a press play out there. They're really trying to get that ball back, especially with it being out of bounds. But now, you know, it's in the Chapman Panthers' hands now, looking for that wide opening pass.
Yeah, they needed a clean inbound, which they got. We saw a couple of those errors early on, but now the ball strictly in the hands of Katie Kubo, who's working around her opponents, flirting around the top of the key, gets it to Julia Strand, who had a wide open shot just below that free throw line, and cuts the lead back down to 8. And gets a block. We talked about that with Julia Strand, defensive presence, getting a very key block, but just not able to capitalize on it.
Definitely, and that was just an easy turnover again, but yet a foul called. You know, when it comes to fouls, it's something that you can't really afford right now, especially with the score only being less than 7 points. I'm not sure, I'm not doing the math right now, but we're gonna see the ball back in the Laverne Leopards' hands.
Yeah, and talking about fouls and free throw trouble, the Laverne Leopards had 20 attempts at the line. They're 11 of 20 right now, shooting 55%. The Chapman Panthers have a perfect free throw record, but have only been to the line for 3 times.
Definitely a lot of tension for the Panthers on defense, you know. They really want to get that ball back, but it's costing them that foul.
And I hate to say this, but ask and you shall receive. Verne Leopards able to not only get that layup, Dejanay Gill, but able to get an and one opportunity.
Definitely, and again, we're seeing number 21 on the line, Dejanay Gill. She's been on the line a few times, you know. She's not very good at getting that ball to follow through into the basket on the free throw line, but hopefully this is a little bit of a turner, especially with a 10-point difference. It's really a matter of time. 3 minutes is a lot to make a play.
Absolutely. We talked about her at the beginning of the game. She averages over 10 points a game, a huge rebounder, and we've seen her just going at it. The Verne Leopards have had a diversity of players who've been able to be their main scorers, whether it be Kiara Brown, Dawson Bell, Dejanay Gill, just a lot of tools in their shed. Katie Kubo back with the ball, trying to get something going for the Panthers in this last 3 minutes. Down 11, ball back in the hand of Julia Strand, and right back to Katie Kubo, trying to create that play. Slips it to Colleen, and just a little short. Sloppy pass by the Verne Leopards, able to keep control. Angelica Gonzalez able to slow it down, really get the play she wants. And the Verne Leopards right now have nothing but time. Kiara Brown back with the ball in her hands. And just another point. 2 points for Kiara Brown.
When it comes to following through shots, Kiara Brown is someone that has definitely a very good and gentle touch. She knows exactly how to put the ball in, exactly how much force she needs, and on the free throw line, we're hoping to see the same thing.
Absolutely. We talked about her at the beginning of the game. She's been the offensive and defensive player of the week. 25 points for her tonight. Just absolutely incredible gameplay for her.
Definitely, and we're seeing Katie Kubo driving down, and that was a missed shot as well. We're also seeing Zoe Zarowski on the court too, you know. She's definitely trying to play a little bit of a big out there, a little bit of a forward, but, you know, she's still going to be a guard at heart.
Absolutely. Zoe Zarowski, she had those 8 points in that first half. She got that early 3-point, which really helped the Panthers with the momentum early on. And she's done a great job filling in for those injured players.
Definitely, and again, we're seeing the Verne Leopards on the free throw line. It's been a battle of the fouls down here. It's a matter of if their defense is going to be called, fouls are going to be called, and how fast they are going to get back on offense.
Absolutely. And moving forward for these Chapman Panthers, how do you think they're going to be able to look at this and say, you know, we fouled a lot. That's something we need to improve on. How do you think they're going to adjust?
I think that they're going to adjust in more of like an organizational way, you know. It's more about being able to balance yourself, talking to your teammates, making sure you're all on the same page. Of course you want to, you know, foul that point to get that turnover and you take the ball down. But at this point, with the difference in points that we have, I don't think fouling is necessarily the best thing to do.
No, I don't think so either. And we've seen that even with their free throw struggles, Verne has been able to convert. They've made 15 of their 24 free throws, 24 free throw attempts. That's an astounding number. And the Chapman Panthers have just been sitting at 6 for a long time. It's really good to see the Chapman Panthers communicate, especially with Mia Yamamoto and Aiden Sherfy out, and Julia Strand. She had a great game points-wise. She's got 20 points on the board, but just how she got those points is something that the Panthers can work on and talk about.
Definitely, and you know, with Coach Carroll, I know she's gonna want her team, the Panthers, to be fouling to get that ball back. But if they're gonna be fouling, they gotta choose the right people because they have a lot of great shooters at the free throw line.
Absolutely, Katie Kubo out for 3, in and out. Katie Kubo has had herself a good game. She's scored 10 points today. She's 2 for 2 from the line. She has 7 assists. Really, really good on that front. So it's been good to see her, especially with some of those hard falls she took earlier.
Definitely. And you know what else is surprising? Number 42, Kristen Liu. She's been doing pretty good this game defensively as well for the Panthers. We're seeing her make a lot of big plays and applying that pressure that needs to be given to the Verne Leopards.
Yes, and I apologize earlier if you heard me call her Colleen. Number 42 and number 24, they are reverses of each other. I guess my prescription isn't as good as I thought. We see the Laverne Leopards back on the line, just kind of sealing the deal. And with that, the Laverne Leopards up by 20 in this game. The Chapman Panthers, you know, they had a good game. They had really good moments in this game. What do you think they can take from this game? As Katie Kubo just, it's a really good three. Just to cap it off, just to say, oh, why not? Or excuse me, a long two.
Oh, and that's the ball called out of bounds right now. You know, when it comes to takeaways from this game, I think the Panthers are just going to use this as a learning lesson, you know. Really playing against the top team is a lot of pressure, but definitely keeping their calm is something that I've noticed. You know, I think they're going to use this more as like film. They're going to use this game as like practice to work on what they need to work on, really look at how they're playing, and definitely looking at how their defense is, moving around, you know, their screens, what difference they can make on plays.
Absolutely, and if you're the Laverne Leopards, you want to take from this, you know, you were down 7 early. You let the Chapman Panthers play their game, and it took them up until the 3rd quarter to really establish their run game, establish their style of play. So if you're the Laverne Leopards, you want to make sure that you don't let that lead slip. If they weren't able to come back in that 1st quarter, it could be a very different game.
Definitely, and you know, for the first time in the 4th quarter, we're seeing Julia Strand on the line. The Panthers really haven't been on the free throw line this entire game. They've been fouling a lot, but Julia Strand is 2 for 2 on free throws.
Yeah, if you're going to take anything away from this, if you're a Chapman Panthers fan, you can say that the Chapman Panthers were perfect from the line tonight.
Definitely, and Kiara Brown is coming back in the game with only a little bit over a minute left. Definitely a big competition between her and Julia Strand. They're both going up in at least 25 to 22 points each in the game.
Absolutely. Interesting that they brought Kiara Brown back just with the Laverne Leopards having a 15-point lead. Obviously, she was the star of tonight's game. And as much as I know she would want to play, she doesn't necessarily need to be in right now.
Definitely. And then we just saw a foul get called on Katie Kubo, number 23 from the Chapman Panthers. That's her 4th foul. Even though there's only 47 seconds left in the game, she's a big asset that needs to be in right now. So definitely staying out of foul trouble is something that her team needs to be on the look for.
Absolutely. And Katie Kubo moving forward, you know, she's a junior guard, so in the next year she is going to be one of the leaders of this team. And being in that point guard position, it puts her in the prime spot to be able to communicate with her team what she wants. But if she's going to lead by example, she doesn't necessarily want to be in foul trouble every single game.
Definitely. And interesting how the Panthers are bringing in some players. We see number 11, Trinity Barreto. Fun fact, she's from Hawaii, just like I am. So it's nice to see some home on the court. And, you know, Mililani actually has a good high school basketball program. So knowing that she's on there, she definitely has some skill.
Absolutely. There's a lot of people come to Chapman from different hometowns. If you're keeping track of the Chapman Athletics program, coming up we're going to have the men's basketball versus Laverne. And one of the Chapman players, Anthony Smith, he is from my hometown of Marietta. He went to my rival high school, actually. So it's a day of basketball of Chapman versus Laverne. And it was a great game here, the Chapman Panthers versus the Laverne Leopards. And just ending off with a 3-pointer for the Chapman Panthers. A nice little moment just to have a 3-pointer.
Definitely, and you know, now that the game's over, we saw the ball was in the hands of the Laverne Leopards. Overall, the score is going to be 64-78, about a 14-point difference. A really good game tonight. What did you think about what we saw tonight?
I really liked what I saw in the first half. I really liked the competitiveness of the Chapman Panthers, and I liked seeing how close it was. But the Laverne Leopards really turned on the gas that second half. They hustled. On defense, they got the rebounds, they got the steals, they forced turnovers, and that was just really important.
Definitely, and if we're reflecting back on the game, I think it's good to look at some game highlights. We're going to be featuring a few plays that had happened in the game we just saw.
Absolutely. This game was full of highlights, some textbook plays, some sneaky passes, and you know, it's always interesting to look back on. At the start of this quarter, we saw Julia Strand with that long two. She's known for scoring in the paint, but she has versatility.
Definitely, and Katie Kubel right there with a three-point shot. Oh, my apologies, that's Zoe Zarowski, who actually was a big help on defense today as well.
But speaking of offense, it was all about Kiara Brown tonight. Kiara Brown with those 25 points, she scored in the paint, she assisted, she got those rebounds. But that's not to discredit her teammates. Dawson Bell was a huge asset tonight. We saw her creating those shots, and also we saw her at the line a lot.
And just now we saw Kristen Liu with the shot, number 42 from the Panthers, making her few game appearances today. She did a pretty good job.
Absolutely. And here on this play, we saw that just some miscommunications. And that was kind of the story of the game. We had some miscommunications, we had hustling, we had that. But speaking of our key players, we have Kiara Brown on the sideline with Angela Hara, who's going to give us a post-game interview.
Well, there you have it, everyone. I'm here with Kiara Brown, one of the MVPs of Laverne's team. Again, the end score was Laverne 78 and Chapman 64. I mean, you have such impressive stats, Kiara. 25 points in total this game, 3 for 3 on your free throws. I mean, how did you do it?
It was really just trying to come out being aggressive, because past games I come out slow. So it's just about finding my rhythm, getting back to what I did at the beginning of the season.
Right. And as you know, Laverne was on top for the SkyApp Conference League. I mean, did you feel you had any sort of title to protect against Chapman today?
We're the underdogs, and so we just want to come out and just try our best every single game. This is the first time we've been in this position, and we don't want to take it for granted. And so we just want to come out hard every single game.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I'll let you get back to go join your team and celebrate. Thank you. Well, there you guys have it, Kiara Brown. I'll see you guys next time. Angie Hara.
Thank you so much, Angela. Thank you for just giving us insight. And Kiara Brown was tonight's CSBN MVP, and we're going to take a look at some of her highlights specifically.
Kiara Brown definitely played a really good game tonight. You know, she had about 2 steals, and we saw a lot of her competitive spirit during warm-ups too, you know. Definitely getting down in the paint and for layups.
And we heard her say that Laverne hasn't been the overdogs before. We can see that in her hustle. She was going for every shot. She got those layups. She made herself open. Even when she was double teamed and had that pressure, she was innovative and she made those shots count. And she wasn't just in the paint, as we just saw that pull up.
Definitely. She made 25 points tonight, which is really a big difference in what we've seen in other games as well. Kiara Brown definitely had a wonderful game.
Absolutely, and we see her there just high-fiving all of the players of the Chapman Panthers. Just great to see that sportsmanship. It was a really great game overall, and you know, it was exciting to watch. Even though the result wasn't one the Chapman Panthers would have wanted, it was a really good experience to see and be a part of.
Definitely, I agree with you, Zoe. And you know, coming from the women's game, we're going to see another competition in the men's game as well. Another battle with Laverne Leopards and the Chapman Panthers.
Absolutely. That game is going to be commentated by our CSBN's very own Alejandra Flores and Parker Bell. And we're also going to have Orion Powell on the sideline. We thank you so much for tuning into the SkyApp Network and hope you stick around for the men's game.
Definitely. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you so much.